Welcome, folks, Texonnect fans, and everybody else. Welcome to another episode of the Texonnect Voices. Quite frankly, I am super duper excited today because, I've been looking forward as we talk about artificial intelligence. Last time we spoke to Avaya, we've spoken to before that to Desmond Israel and to Dr. Boyson on different aspects of AI. But there's nothing more engaging and more exciting than talking about AI in creatives because I happen to be a creative myself. I'm sure most of you know that. I dabble in music. I'd like to do a bit of videos and video editing. I like to play around with all these different creative stuff. And of course, AI has revolutionized the way I do my music. I talked about that the last time. Now we're using creative tools in AI to make sounds, to make beats, and it's sped up the production time. Super amazing. Now today I have an expert with me. And honestly, when I started engaging with this man, I almost forgot to record and share with you, and I apologize for that. So much wealth of information, so much he's done. So I hate having to do this to him, but I'll have to let him repeat so that I don't keep some of these morsel of goodness from you. So once again, Papacast Texonnect host, and I'm here with Remi. Remi, you know what? I don't want to hold back. I don't want to read any profile and make this robotic. Just like you told me about the things you've been doing today, please introduce yourself to the audience.
Okay, hi everybody. Nice to be here. My name is Remi Ogunpitan. I'm based in Lagos, Nigeria, and I founded a company called IBST Limited more than 24 years ago. And we started our business basically in the days of analog when we were still cutting tape and stitching edits together with the tape and syncing sound by ear. But we've come a long way. We're over 24 years old now. And we've done quite a lot of work in the space. We've started off by filming TV commercials for a lot of the big agencies in Nigeria, which we did for many years. We eventually went into the acquisitions of licensed formats. So we've worked with companies like Endemol, where we brought into Nigeria, Big Brother Nigeria. We've licensed content such as The Apprentice, where we created The Apprentice Africa, which we filmed in about 7 African countries. We've done Dragon's Den, and we've created also a lot of original reality shows for big brands like MTN, Globalcom, etc. Um, these days, we tend to work more in the corporate sector of our business. We do a lot of live events, hybrid and live events, streaming, different types of streaming technologies, which we bring to the fore. Um, we've also been involved in creating a lot of content for big organizations in Nigeria, which include MTN Nigeria, Seplat, Chevron. We also work with the big boys like BBC, CNN Creative, ITN. So we've garnered a lot of experience. We've got a lot of creative staff working for us, and we've been able to build around our business a good reputation for excellent work, for creativity. And today, we are still going hard at it, even though I've been running the business for 24 years now. There's an evolution going on in the business where a lot of the younger people are coming in and they're taking over. And we actually have a new MD for our business as I start to take a step to the background and allow the young ones to take over. So that's a little bit about me.
First and foremost, when somebody says he comes from the analog world, respect because they understand how things work. We didn't have it so easy back in the day. So definitely respect. And by the way, I'm sure most of you know why I was keeping Remi to myself. Wealth of knowledge, a lot of good things going. But let's get to the program itself. Remi, how do you define creativity in this age of AI? You've already mentioned new young people, new way of doing things, new flow. But how does AI come in?
Well, creativity for me has always been about, problem solving with originality, whether you're telling a story or editing a film or designing a set or writing a script. It's all about originality. in the age of AI, I don't think creativity hasn't changed. It's evolved, it's moved on to new levels. And I think we just need to understand that. Now it's more about what I can imagine, and also, but how can I use AI to amplify that imagination? I think that is where we are now. How can AI give me speed, uh, variety, and even at times, how can it suggest to me some surprising directions which I didn't think about, which I might not have considered? But the most important thing is that the creative spark, even with AI, starts with the human heartbeat.
Powerful stuff. So, based on your definition of AI, of creativity, do you feel that AI can be creative, or can it be original? Is it just remixing what already exists?
Oh, that's an interesting question. You know what? Let me put it this way, yeah. Imagine you employ an intern who's very, very talented, and you give them access to every single library, art gallery, stock footage library, music libraries, etc. AI basically can remix, stimulate, and suggest. But the thing about AI, it's when it does those things and you ask it to do those things, it really doesn't know why it's telling you to do it, does it? It doesn't feel, it's inhuman. So while AI can produce great looking stuff, things that look really creative, the soul of true creativity, the why, the nuances, the context still belongs to us. So AI cannot be creative because without us, it can't really do anything. All it can do is just remix in a kind of android human way. But the soul of creativity is still belongs to us.
So, is that your way of saying that we will never become irrelevant?
Um, I don't think we can. You know, I mean, if it's AI, if you've got AI on your computer, right? You can go to a platform and you can do whatever you want to do with it. But if it's just sitting there on your laptop and it still needs a human being to click it, can it click itself?
No, it's not.
So I think I've answered your question.
So you're telling that the creative guys they are safe. Okay.
Yeah.
In your opinion, what are the most exciting AI tools in the creative space right now?
We use a lot
And I
of,
can give you one or two that I love that have blown my mind. Mureka is one of them. Uh,
yeah.
I mean, obviously, Chat GPT because it helps me to write my lyrics these days, and
Well,
then
we use a lot. We use a
tell
lot.
me, tell me,
Wow.
tell me.
Okay. We use for animation,
Okay,
uh, we're using Kaiba AI and Pika.
interested. Never heard of it.
And
Okay,
then for video generation, of course, Google VO3.
man, that's a whole different conversation.
Yes,
All right,
yes, yeah.
yeah,
And then we use Runaway and platforms from a company called Imagine Art for video generation.
interested.
For color grading, we're using something called Color Lab and Film AI. And for storyboarding and for presentations and all of those kind of things, we're using Storyboard AI and Gamma, which help us to plan our narratives visually. And of course, you mentioned ChatGPT and Gemini, which are all part of our, I don't call them platforms. All these tools are part of our creative team. Okay. So they help us draft scripts, proposals. We even use them for brainstorming new campaign ideas. Uh, it's exciting because what is happening is that each of these tools extends the reach of every single member of our staff, and it also enables us to work as groups and as teams, even remotely. So it's all encompassing.
So you don't do anything with Canva? Just curious.
Oh yeah, we do, of course. I mean, I wanted to mention Canva. I mean, but Canva is like, yeah, we do, yeah,
That
everybody.
face though, you have to break it down to me
Yeah.
later because I thought
Yeah,
Canva was a new
our
thing. But
our
anyway,
digital team are there with the Canva every day of the week. Yeah, they
okay,
are.
okay, all right, all right, all right. Let's talk about collaboration because you talked about your team working together as a group and everything. Have you used AI in your own creative processing? And you said that you have, but how
Yeah.
exactly are you using it to better collaborate?
In fact, you know what? We're using it every day,
Okay,
every single day.
okay. Can you
It's
give me an
it,
examples of like a
it
workflow
yeah,
process?
yeah. It's embedded in every single step of our production.
Okay,
For instance, Topaz Labs. When we have old footage, we use Topaz Labs to clean old footage. And then in our industry, we need to have access to a lot of various assets, things like videos, music, pictures, and all of those kind of things. So there we're using things like FreePic and Envato. Um, we're using
you know
things
what?
like
I'm glad you mentioned Envato because I had a burning question I wanted to ask you. Just a couple of years ago when I needed stock video from Envato, it was expensive. I mean, in fact, all the stock video. First of all, you rarely could find anything Ghanaian. Most of the stock was outside. And then secondly, they were like, you had to buy a picture or whatever, and it was expensive. And recently, it blew my mind when I found out how cheap Envato has become. I pay a monthly subscription and I download unlimited. And it just totally blew my mind. Do you think this has been affected because of the AI generation coming in? Is that why they've dropped their prices so low?
all, all that stuff happened before.
Interesting.
I, yeah, because you see, you got a lot of companies that are now doing all those asset-based offerings on their platforms. Um, Shutterstock is one of them. You have other companies, Storyblock, Art AI. There's
So many.
literally hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of them, and a lot of them now are even offering AI on their platform. So if you see a
Yeah,
particular video or a particular picture you like and it doesn't really fit what you want, you
yeah.
can use AI to customize it.
Game
So
changer.
yeah, and then also you're finding that a lot of organizations now that are purchasing a lot of content from Africa for machine learning so that they can start to generate. I mean, we were recently approached by a huge company in the US who wanted to buy every single live, they weren't even interested in finished content. They wanted to buy every single stock footage which we have. And when we looked at the price and all of that, we just said no, we're just not interested to give them all our footage of over 25 years, and then they'll stick it in a machine, and machine will learn it, and they give us a
And they
little
don't need you
money.
anymore.
Yeah, so we just said
Crazy
no.
world.
So in terms of assets, the base for assets in the industry has really, grown. So there's a lot of opportunity for people, and there's a lot of competition there now. So the prices have dropped. But then if you're looking for really good original footage and stuff like that, you go to Getty Images, you're still going to pay 300, £400 or $400 for a clip. So it really depends how original you want it, how
And the
exclusive you
price
want it.
point, the budget, yeah,
Yeah.
exclusive as
So,
well.
those things come into it. Uh, we're using things like Discord AI for generating audiovisual concepts. Um, and we're using a whole lot of other things for voice, for subtitling, for generating different languages,
Mhm.
for all, so it's streamlined our workflow, but it allows the team to focus more on direction and storytelling. That's where we are
Do
right
you
now.
have Opus in your library?
Sorry?
Opus, I think it's Opus. Um, it allows you to do subtitling and reeling. Opus Clip.
Well, I'm not sure we use Opus, but I'm sure we use there's so many platforms that do
Okay,
subtitling
okay,
now.
okay, okay.
The platform we have now can do 170 languages.
Wow, wow, wow. Yeah, Opus Clip cuts up the video nicely and does like little really
Yeah.
short reels with subtitling, which is like really, really cool.
Uh,
Nice, 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 nice. I love it. You've shared a lot of good stuff with us, and I'm sure my audience is really excited. So, assistant, collaborator, or competitor, AI, what is it to you?
Um, well, in my experience, AI is an assistant.
Okay.
Yeah. It's though an extremely powerful one.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. But also it
Best
can be a
PA ever.
yeah, but it can also be a collaborator.
Okay.
That's if you learn to speak the language of
And
AI.
that's what prompting comes in. Just had a
Yeah.
class in prompting, a week
Yes.
class, and it totally
Yes.
blew
You
my
got
mind.
it.
Mm,
But
mm,
it's not a competitor.
mm,
Yeah.
mm,
It's never a competitor
mm, mm,
because AI cannot replace emotional intelligence.
mm, mm,
It
mm,
can't replace cultural context.
mm,
It can't give an insight to your lived experience and mine.
mm. Absolutely.
Yeah,
That I don't argue. But you know, the
yeah,
cultural bit, oh boy, I was really shocked when I saw AI speaking Pidgin and Tree. I'm telling you,
yes,
this thing
yeah,
has totally changed the game. Oh.
yeah. Because you see, the thing is that AI is if it will find it difficult to provide storytelling that is rooted in culture and community, and that is where we come into it.
You are absolutely right. You know what happened yesterday that totally blew my mind, and I have to use this as a use case. So I generated a video on Google VO of a father or an elderly person putting their hands on the head of a younger person. And you know what AI did? It generated it, but then in the video when I was watching it, when the elderly person put his hand on the head of the young person hid his hand away and put his hand on the elderly person's head. And I said, never. That will not happen in Africa. So you can see that it does not understand the context. You know,
Yeah,
it still looks
yeah.
like just this thing. But I was shocked. I said, what? Who is going to put their hand on their grandfather's head? Are you mad? But that's interesting, and I love that we see these things and we find them. Of course, I mean, eventually they'll get it right, but there's a lot of rooted cultural context that they have to learn to get it right. You're
Yeah,
absolutely right.
yes.
Are there any jobs or creative functions you believe are at risk because of AI? I know you've been,
Yeah, of course.
positive side so
Yes,
far, but yeah.
of course it is. Like, repetitive tasks, you know, those tasks that we will hate doing, AI will take care of that. I mean, if you go to Adobe Photoshop now, um, AI does basic photo editing, for instance. Those days where you see with Adobe, you have to go to the color, you go to the gamma, you go to the black levels, you nah. AI does all of that now. You just stick the photos in it and you just tell it, oh yeah, balance it, give me the best looking photograph, and it will do it. So repetitive tasks like that will go out the window. Things like transcription. Those days I used to hate transcription. You come back from the shoot and then you now have to transcribe the video, the interview, every single thing that they said. So you know where you want to take it, where you want to cut it in, where you want to cut it out. Now I can just drop my video into an AI platform and it will transcribe everything for me. Yeah. I don't have to sit down and go to companies that those days. I remember about 4 years ago, we did a project for WHO and we had to translate it into French, Portuguese, what other language again? Swahili and Arabic. So we had to give the job to a company that was based, funnily enough, was based in China. So they did that for us. Now I can drop that same video in a platform and I'll just tell it, give me Arabic version, give me Portuguese version, give me French version, and I'll come back, go make a cup of tea in the kitchen, come back, and it would have done everything. So repetitive tasks are going to be at risk. Uh, and but the funny thing, those who adapt will evolve into roles in creative direction, brand strategy, AI workflow management. And they will not just survive, people like that, they will lead in the world of AI and the creative industry.
So we need to get it now, now, now.
Yes,
if we
absolutely.
want to leave the frontier.
Yeah,
So,
sure.
so let's expand on this and just talk in general. Besides those it's going to replace, how is it disrupting traditional roles in industries like advertising, music, and design?
Uh, I'm telling you, the major thing is that it's compressing time. What you needed 2 weeks for now takes hours. Okay. So basically, that's going to change the role of everybody. If what took 3 weeks can be done in an hour, everybody's role changes. The roles of the editors, animators, and scriptwriters. Even what it means is that even a junior designer can now produce high level content, mockups, using templates from Motion Array or Envato, or he can put music together, and he's not a musician. Yeah. So the entry bar is lower. But guess what? So is the margin for mediocrity.
Yeah, absolutely. You know, it's interesting you said that a friend of mine, and I'm on his board, and recently he was doing an assignment. He gave it to his interns or volunteers or whatever, and they were taking about 3 weeks to do it, right? And then he said, you know what, Papa's been, advising me on this AI stuff. Let me just, he wanted some reports that. He went in there within 20, 30 minutes, it was done. And then he was wondering, why am I keeping these guys around? Because it took them 3 weeks to give me a report. I've just finished it in less than 20 minutes. And 20 minutes only because he was figuring stuff out. So I'm sure the next time it'll probably be like 2 or 5 minutes. So the mediocrity, the excuses is gone. You can't give those excuses anymore.
Because they'll just, you'll get left behind.
Yeah.
You will become a dinosaur, extinct.
Yeah. So let's expand on this and let me ask this. What new skills would you say emerging creatives need to develop to stay relevant in this AI augmented world?
Learn to prompt.
Learn to, oh, Dr. Boyson will love you right
Prompt,
now. Learn to prompt. Okay.
and prompt. Yeah. And understand and know how to talk and communicate with
How to
AI.
communicate. Oh my
Yeah.
goodness.
That's going to be a core skill.
I keep
Uh,
telling you guys, man,
yeah.
communication,
You also,
communication,
yeah, they also need to understand storytelling.
storytelling, powerful.
AI can generate you all the videos, all the pictures, or everything that you want, but it cannot teach you how to write narrative. What is a story arc? What are the emotional beats that you need to put into a script? What is the context? How does the culture come into it? AI can't teach you that. And then you need also to become very comfortable with sitting down with AI and spending hours experimenting, finding out, learning, and understanding it. You know, creatives who will play with these tools will be the ones that will set the trends for tomorrow. And they are the ones that will find a job or create an industry or a company for themselves. So if you don't learn how to prompt, how to communicate, how to understand the various things that you can input and communicate to AI, then, if you can't do that, then, just go look for a job cleaning the streets or something.
Real talk, real talk. Now, how would you say these creatives should balance learning AI tools with refining traditional artistic skills?
Well, AI is relatively, not relatively, is revolutionary. But you can't abandon your basic skills. Things like drawing, writing, and in my industry, cinematography, editing, um, whatever you do at a basic level, don't abandon it, because it is those fundamentals that will help you to understand and recognize quality and be able to use AI to assist and extend your basics, not to replace it, but to extend it. So if you're using AI, for instance, for editing, you can use AI for logging or audio cleanup. If you're writing a script, you can use AI for background research to give your content, more substance. You can use, if you're doing audio cleanup, for instance, you can use it for your pacing and your cutting decisions. But everything must still come from you. It has to come from your instinct and your experience. And your instinct and your experience comes from your basic skills, the fundamentals that you bring to the table when you use AI to extend your skills.
Beautiful. Now let's get into some dicey waters. Let's talk ethics and authorship.
Oh, wow, yeah.
Who should own the rights to AI generated work? The prompt engineer, the tool developer, or someone else? I'm listening to you.
Wow. Okay. It gets tricky here, doesn't it?
Very tricky.
Um, I believe the person who conceptualizes and guides the creation, which is usually the prompt engineer, should hold the primary rights.
Okay.
Yeah.
Unless, of course, you're using a consultant prompt engineer
Yeah.
to do what you've told them.
Yeah, but then if you're using a consultant prompt engineer, then we have to go back to the old age practice where we either credit the AI tool as a medium or the consultant, the same way you credit a director or a producer or a set designer. Do you understand what I mean?
Yeah, I
We,
understand.
yeah, we need to start giving credit to the prompt engineer, the prompt consultant, and if it's an AI tool, you need to be able to say, this was the AI tool that I used to create this.
Interesting.
That's what I believe should happen.
That brings a whole new level of dynamism to the game. Wow, that's so much. Now it's interesting. I run an event center as well, and we do something called Movies in the Park, where we show movies outdoors and people lie on mats and watch it. Really great stuff. And one of our lessons, we brought one of our legends in the Ghanaian movie space, and he took us back to the old days when they used to use was it sellotapes? Sorry, sellotapes or something like that. The previous ones before they started using the regular recording stuff. And he talked about the changes that have happened since digital videography came back. And I see how much they've lost in terms of the craft, the acting, the originality, and all those things. And I'm afraid that as we move into AI, we may lose more of that as well. So I found what you were saying in the previous answer so relevant. And I think it's something that we need to be cautioning those in the space not to lose that quality, that storytelling, like you said, that depth and cultural context. And it's something I think we should look at.
Yeah.
But let me ask you this. How do we prevent AI from perpetuating cultural appropriation or bias in artistic creation? And that's something that a lot of people are worried about.
Yeah. Unfortunately, a lot of the AI platforms are not within our control. And the way they're learning is also out of our control. But I think it's very important that we must get into the game and ensure that those platforms are fed in a responsible way. And what do I mean by that? We need to ensure that they do not continuously get trained on Western-centric data. Otherwise, we're going to get skewed outputs, just like what you just said about the father and the son, the hand on the head, it's going to be skewed because what will happen is that the AI will appropriate our culture and will not understand it and will basically feed us back in a very, very wrong way. There'll be a lot of dissonance. So as Africans, we also need to be involved in building and training AI with our own stories, with our voices, with our aesthetics, In fact, that's one of my long-term dreams, to find a way where we can start contributing Yoruba, Igbo, Hausa, all these other different languages across Africa, all our various dances, our costumes, our materials, and all of these other cultural inputs into these systems. Because if we don't, then our culture will be appropriated in a manner that we will not represent.
You
Uh,
just gave me a crazy idea, and it's going to be
yeah.
a major project, and I wish you and I could work on it. But a lot of times we talk about, in fact, this morning, and I think God has a funny way that He works things out. This morning, I got a message from a friend of mine who's very committed to the concept around taking care of the elderly. And so she sent this message, I sent it around. I didn't think anything of it. But as you're speaking right now, I just realized there's a huge role that the elderly have to play. Because, believe it or not, a lot of the young guys are gone. I mean, culturally, they're lost, right? And if we don't use this short time to grab all the information and context we can from those who are currently around between 50 and 90, and with the way mortality rate, people are dying at 60s and that, if we don't do that in the next 5-10 years,
Everything.
we're going to be in serious trouble.
I mean, we come from a continent of storytellers.
Yes.
We come from a continent of griots who, over the years, tell our stories in the communities, in under the tree, in a village center, where people, come. They go to the markets and they ring a bell and they tell a story. So we need to be very careful that we don't lose all those things, and get to a situation where in 20, 30, 40, 50 years from now, our history, is not even represented. And that would be so sad.
So let me build on that and ask you, how is AI currently influencing cultural identity in the creative space, in the creative works across Africa and the global South? And what does the future of storytelling look like with AI in the picture?
Oh, it's a double-edged sword, isn't it, really?
Absolutely.
Yeah, it's a double-edged sword. On one hand, it's allowing us to share our culture more widely,
Yeah.
um, in ways that are visually stunning and accessible.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I think on the other hand, we risk losing authenticity
Yeah.
if we're only going to rely on those Western trained models, which we're
Yeah.
using till
Yeah.
tomorrow. Yeah.
Yeah.
So we will go there, we will try to do stuff, but it won't be authentic.
Yeah.
So unless we actively start to localize and Africanize AI use,
Yeah.
what we will just become, mere consumers instead of contributors. Yeah.
Mhm.
It will be, it will be, what it is? It will be like resource control all over again, but reverse, where we're now consuming everything that they produce.
Yeah.
And we're not actually taking what we have
Yeah.
and getting full value out of it. So they come in, they take the gold, they take the oil, and then they take it over there, they refine it, they take the cocoa, they turn it around, and they bring it back, and then they give us chocolate, and then they sell the petrol to us. And then, do you know what I mean? It's
Yeah.
it's
Yeah.
another form of colonization.
So
If
we
we are
need to
able,
be intentional about creating and stop
yes,
just being consumers.
yes, we need to
Yes.
actively localize
Yeah.
and Africanize
Yeah.
AI, and we need to own our own.
Yeah. 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 True talk. True talk. True talk. True talk. Beautiful. So, do you think AI will help or hinder diversity in the creative expression?
If we use it right, it can be an enabler.
Yeah.
It can open, access to tools for a lot of Africans that don't have access to high quality and high-end equipment, who don't have formal training. I mean, our mobile networks, our MTNs and our Globalcoms and our Airtels, just with the phone, they can open up a new world to a lot of people who wouldn't have access to AI. But diversity won't happen automatically. We need to be intentional about it. And I think what you're doing is part of it, because there must be education. We must be able to program it. We must be able to promote it. And then we must be able to protect the way it is used and ensure that it's used in such a manner that gives Africa the opportunity to grow, to develop in the right direction. Because I can imagine what AI would be like if we got into the hands of corrupt politicians and all those funny kinds of people who are running things in a lot of African countries. So we need to be very, very careful.
Wow. Speaking about platforms like this one, Remi, my questions are done, but imagine this is your platform to talk to Africa. Imagine the whole Africa is watching you. Remi, what's your message for us?
Oh, you know what? My message has nothing to do with AI. My message is Africans, man, get smart. Take control of your destiny in your own hands, because it is only you that can control your future. Promote and work with the right leaders who have your interest at heart. Africa is a great continent with great people, with immense resources for everybody to prosper, to be nourished, to be fulfilled. But unless we take our destiny into our own hands and we ensure that we have the right people leading our countries, leading our children, leading our industries and our businesses, we stand the threat of continuing to be where we are in the world today. And that is not where we should be. That is my message for Africa.
Beautiful message. Beautiful message. Remi for African president.
You know I won't go anywhere near that, man.
Thank you so much, Remi. It's been great talking to you this morning. It's been awesome. It's been very enlightening. And there's so much that we've gleaned off you. That this engagement has also been super exciting. And we're hoping that people watch it from lens to lens and really understand even the hidden messages in your messages, because you were speaking, but there was also a lot of different context and a lot of subliminal, messages deeper in it that the whites will get. I hope when the whites get it, they'll pass it on, to those people who may not have gotten it from this country. It's such an honor to talk to you. I also don't think a lot of people appreciate how much comes with experience. 25 years in the game, you've seen it all, you understand the context, you understand the different dynamics. You've also dealt with big names, so you're not afraid to call it as it is. And this is really, really, really enlightening and really rich. So thank you so much. We hope that we can call on you even further if we need you from Texonnect Voices. This has been awesome. Thank you so much.
Papa, man, take care.
Take care. Have a great
All the
day.
best, man.
You too.